The throne room of Queen Zeljar was dark, cold, and full of silence. The walls were made of black stone, and tall red banners with the Queen symbol, an open eye over a broken world, hung from the ceiling. Her throne was made of sharp, iron and ancient bones. It was not just a seat, it was a message. Fear rules here. Queen Zeljar sat high on her throne, her long silver claws resting on the armrests. Her skin was pale blue, her eyes bright like burning stars. She ruled over hundreds of planets. Her empire had crushed many species, and now she held Earth. Humans were nothing more than servants here. Some cleaned the floors, some worked in mines. Some guarded the palace. None had rights, none had names. They were numbers. But today, one human stood in front of her, chained and bloody. His name was Corin Vale, but the guards called him Unit 47. He disobeyed, hissed one of the lizard-like commanders. He refused to kneel when the anthem played. Queen Zeljar stood slowly, her black robe sliding behind her like a shadow. She walked down the steps of her throne, eyes locked on Corin. "You don't kneel?" she asked in a cold voice. Corin didn't answer. His mouth was cut and his left eye was swollen shut, but he stood straight. Even with chains on his hands, he didn't bow. The Queen raised an eyebrow. "Do you not fear me?" Corin looked at her. His voice was rough, quiet but strong. "I fear no one who hides behind whips and titles." The room gasped. Even the alien guard stepped back. Queen Zeljar smiled, but it was not a kind smile. "Interesting," she whispered. "Pain makes most humans scream. Maybe you need a lesson." She took the silver whip from a guard. It was made of energy, crackling with blue light. She struck Corin across the back. Once, twice, 3 times. He didn't scream. His skin burned. Blood fell to the cold floor. But Corin stood. The Queen stopped. Her hand trembled slightly. No human had ever resisted this much. And then something strange happened. For a second, just a second, a vision flashed in her mind. A forest, a woman laughing, a child with bright eyes, a memory, but not hers. She shook her head. "What trick is this?" she growled. Corin looked at her, breathing hard. "Maybe you're not as strong as you think." Zeljar stared at him. This human was different. He didn't act like a slave. He didn't even look at her like she was a queen. He looked at her like an equal, and that disturbed her more than any rebellion ever had. The throne room remained silent even after the Queen returned to her seat. The guards stood stiff. The alien nobles whispered to each other, unsure what they had just witnessed. Corin Vale was still standing. Blood ran down his back and his face was pale. But his eyes were still sharp, alive, unbroken. Queen Zeljar leaned forward on her throne. Her voice echoed through the stone hall. "You stand after the royal lash. Are you proud, human?" Corin raised his head. "No, I stand because kneeling to monsters is not my way." Gasps echoed again. One noble dropped her glass. A guard took a step forward, ready to silence Corin, but the Queen raised her hand. "Let him speak." The guard stopped. "You think we are monsters?" the Queen asked, curious now. "We brought peace, order. Your Earth was full of war before we came." Corin's lip curled. "Better to die free in chaos than live quiet in chains." Queen Zeljar stared at him, silent for a long moment. Then she stood and walked toward him again. Her golden crown glinted in the dim light. She walked slowly like a hunter. When she stood inches away from him, she reached out a clawed hand and lifted his chin. "You are strange, Corin Vale. Most humans cry for mercy. You challenge a queen." Corin looked into her eyes. "Maybe your throne is not as strong as you think." The Queen froze. For a moment, her heart beat faster. No one had looked into her eyes like that since. Again, a flash of something filled her mind. A memory not her own. She saw a man, tall, dark-haired, standing in a green field. His hand touched hers. His voice whispered, "You must choose your own path." She blinked, and the vision was gone. "What is this?" she whispered. She stepped back quickly. This human was more than just brave. He was connected to something she didn't understand, something ancient, dangerous. "Put him in the lower cells," she ordered the guards, her voice cold again. "No food, no water. I want to see how long his will lasts." The guards hesitated. Then they dragged Corin away, his feet scraping the floor. But even as they pulled him, he didn't beg, didn't look back. He just said one thing. "You'll regret this, Zeljar. One day you'll remember this moment and wish you had chosen different." The queen stood still, frozen in place. She didn't know why, but those words felt like a warning. A true one. To be continued in part 3. Would you like me to continue with part 3 now? The lower cells of the Varelian palace were deep, underground. No sunlight reached there. The air was cold, damp, and smelled of rust and sorrow. It was a place meant to break spirits, a place where hope came to die. Corin Vale sat alone in the dark cell, his back against the wall. His wounds burned, but he didn't cry out. His breath was slow, controlled. He had survived worse. Above him, Queen Zeljar sat in her private chamber, but her thoughts were not calm. She stared into the mirror, her reflection unchanged. Cold, perfect, powerful. But inside she felt something cracking. Twice now she had seen visions, strange memories, not her own. Why? She touched her temple. The image returned. The green field, the human man's voice, the feeling of peace. It was not a dream. It felt real. But how could that be? She had never stepped foot on Earth's surface, never touched a human in any way but punishment. And yet, when she looked into Corin's eyes, something in her soul stirred, like a lock, slowly turning. "Run a scan on the human," she ordered her science priest through her communicator. "I want to know everything. Blood, mind, ancestry. Dig deep." "As you command, my queen," came the reply. Down in the cell, Corin remained still. He knew they were watching him, listening. He didn't care. He closed his eyes and remembered his mother's voice. "Never forget who you are," she used to say. "Your blood carries more than just human strength. It carries history." He had never understood that. Not fully. Until now. Footsteps echoed in the corridor. The cell door slid open with a hiss. 2 guards entered with a third figure, a Varelian priest with 4 glowing eyes and long metal robes. "You will come," the priest said. Corin said nothing but stood up slowly. He was taken to the lab, chained and silent. There, strange machines surrounded him. Blue lights scanned his body. Needles took blood. The priest watched a screen, then suddenly froze. This cannot be." "What is it?" one of the guards asked. "This human has Varelian DNA." The guard laughed. "That's not possible." "Not just any DNA," the priest whispered. "It matches the royal line." Silence filled the room. Above them, in her chamber, the queen received the data. She stared at the report. Match, 48%. Subject Corin Vale shares genetic markers with royal ancestor Jarenteth, first brother of the House of Flame. Her breath caught. Jarenteth had vanished long ago, betrayed the Empire. He was erased from history. But he had escaped, to Earth. And now, his blood stood before her. A human with royal blood. Her enemy was family. The west tower of the Varelian palace shook as explosions echoed through the lower halls. Smoke poured from the steel walls. Alarms screamed across the city, and the sky above turned red as emergency shields locked into place. Inside the chaos, A group of human prisoners ran through the corridors, their chains broken. They had smuggled in tools, hacked the locks. Someone inside had helped them. But the Varelian guards were already closing in. Corin Vale ran through the fire-lit halls with two young rebels behind him, Arla, a fast runner, and Juno, a quiet boy no older than 15. Both looked scared but determined. "We go left," Corin shouted, guiding them down a side path. "Storage bay leads to the lower exit." "What about the others?" Arla asked. "They'll meet us there. Trust me." Suddenly a wall exploded behind them. 3 Varelian guards stepped out, weapons glowing. "Drop your weapons," one growled. Arla raised her fists, ready to fight, but Corin held her back. "Wait." Before the guards could move, another voice rang out behind them, cold and full of command. "Stand down." Queen Zeljar walked through the smoke like a shadow with fire in her eyes. "Your Majesty," the guards snapped to attention. "These humans are under my protection," she said. The guards looked shocked. "But they attacked." "They were attacked first," the Queen said, "by traitors in my own court." Corin stepped forward, eyes wide. "You believe me now?" The Queen nodded slowly. "Someone tried to start a war by killing you, but I decide when war begins. Not cowards in the dark." Juno stared at the Queen in awe. "She saved us." Arla whispered to Corin, "Is this real?" "I think so," he replied. The Queen looked at the rebels. "You are free for now, but I demand something in return." They tensed. "Loyalty?" Arla asked bitterly. "No," the Queen said. "Truth." She turned to Corin. "I want to hear your people's story, not the version my empire forced into records. The real one." Corin stared at her, unsure. Then he said, "Then you need to come with us." "To the rebel camps?" she asked. He nodded. "See it with your own eyes. The camps, the broken homes, the hunger." The Queen was silent for a moment. Then she said, "Prepare my ship. I will go." The guards gasped. "My Queen, it's not safe." She raised her hand. "I have faced death before, but this time I face truth." As the alarms quieted and smoke cleared, something rare filled the palace air. Hope. Corin looked at the Queen, not as an enemy anymore, but maybe, just maybe, an ally. For the first time, the chains that had held humans for generations began to loosen, not by war, but by understanding. The Queen's personal ship flew silently through the clouds. It was small but fast, built for high security and stealth. Inside, the air was tense. Corin sat beside the Queen, both staring ahead, not speaking much. This was the first time a Varelian ruler had ever agreed to visit a human rebel zone. Corin glanced at her. She still wore her royal armor, but without the heavy crown. For the first time, she looked less like a queen and more like a person. "Are you nervous?" he asked quietly. "A queen does not fear," she replied, then paused. "But I do not know what I will find." "You'll find truth," Corin said, "and maybe yourself." The ship landed in a hidden valley, surrounded by broken towers and old machines from the last war. The land was dry. Dust filled the air. Children with thin faces watched from behind walls. As the Queen stepped out, silence fell. Dozens of rebels gathered. Some held weapons, others held stones. Arla, who had flown with them, raised her hands. "Wait, she's not here to fight." The crowd murmured. Someone shouted, "She's the reason we suffer." Another yelled, "She destroyed our homes." The Queen stood tall, but her face was not angry. "I have come to see," she said clearly, "not to rule, not to lie." An old man stepped forward. His face was marked with years of pain. "Then look, Queen. Look at what your empire left behind." He took her hand and led her through the camp. She saw broken huts where 10 people lived in one room, She saw burned fields where nothing grew. She saw sick children waiting in long lines for food. And she saw a small graveyard with hundreds of names carved into old metal scraps. Corin walked beside her, watching her face closely. The Queen didn't speak. When they returned to the center of the camp, she turned to the people. I was raised to believe humans were weak, dangerous, less than us. But I see now, you are strong in ways we never understood. A rebel woman called out, "Then why did you let us suffer?" The Queen lowered her eyes. Because I forgot my brother's words. I forgot that power without mercy is nothing but cruelty. For a moment, the camp was silent. Then a small boy stepped forward and offered her a piece of bread. The Queen looked down, shocked. It was a simple act, but powerful. She took it with care. "Thank you." Corin smiled slightly. He could see it, the change beginning. The Queen of Veralia had stepped into the dust and ruin of her own empire, and now she could not go back the same. She had seen the other side, and the fire inside her was no longer for war. It was for justice. The night air in the rebel camp was cold and still. Fires burned quietly in metal barrels. People sat close, together whispering about what they had just seen. The Queen of Veralia, once known as the Iron Ruler, had walked through their ruins, and had not raised her voice or her weapon. Instead, she had listened. Corin stood alone at the edge of the camp, staring at the stars. The same stars where her warships floated, where orders of destruction had once come without mercy. Footsteps approached behind him. He didn't need to turn. "You stayed longer than I expected," he said. Queen Zeljar came to stand beside him. Her silver armor was now dusty, her hair loose. She didn't look like a queen anymore, just a woman burdened by what she'd seen. "I saw everything I needed to," she said softly. Corin looked at her. "And what now?" The Queen didn't answer at first. She looked at the children playing with sticks by a broken wall. One girl was drawing stars in the dirt. "This camp," the Queen said, "is filled with pain, but also strength. These people still hope, even after everything." Corin nodded. "That's what the Empire could never kill. Our spirit." She turned to face him. "I want to change things, but it won't be easy. There are powerful voices in my court, generals, lords. If they see me as weak, they will strike." "Then don't do it alone," Corin said. "Let us help." The Queen raised an eyebrow. "You trust me now?" "No," he said honestly, "but I believe you want to be better, and that's enough. For a beginning." She smiled faintly. "My brother once said that mercy was stronger than any weapon. I called him a dreamer." Corin chuckled. He was right. She looked at him seriously. "I will give orders. The labor camps will stop. The punishments will end. I will declare new rights for your people, freedom, education, food." Corin's heart beat faster. "You'd do that?" "I must," she said, "or I lose whatever soul I have left." From the shadows, Arla stepped forward. She had listened to every word. "If you really mean this, Queen, then you have our support." Juno joined her, eyes wide with hope. "Maybe. It's a new beginning." The Queen looked at them both. "It will be dangerous. Not everyone wants peace." "We're used to danger," Arla said with a grin. The Queen raised her hand. "Then we begin now. I will return to the palace and speak before the Grand Circle. I will declare the old laws broken, and anyone who stands against me will know I no longer stand alone." Corin stepped forward, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Then it's a promise," he said. The stars above seemed brighter that night, for the first time not as watchers of war, but as silent witnesses to hope. The Grand Circle of Veralia was a place of power and pride. It was a massive hall with silver columns and glowing blue floors. The greatest leaders of the Empire sat in high chairs, watching the center stage with cold, sharp eyes. No human had ever stood in this room before, until now. Corin Vale walked beside Queen Zeljar. He wore a clean black coat, his head high. The queen wore her crown again, but her face was calm, not proud, not cruel, just ready. The lords and generals whispered when they saw Corin. A human? An insult to our laws. What is the queen doing? Zeljar raised her hand. Silence fell. She stepped into the center. Today, I speak not as your ruler, but as your witness. I have seen what our empire has become. One lord stood. We are strong. We rule over 100, she continued. I visited the rebel camps. I saw children starving, families in chains, not because they are dangerous, but because we are. Gasps filled the air. Another lord shouted, This is madness. They are lesser beings. No, she said. They are like us. They feel, they dream, they bleed, and they have survived everything we did to them. Her voice grew louder. From this day forward, I declare all human labor camps shut down. The caste system is over. Humans will be treated as equals. The room exploded with noise. Impossible! Treason! She's lost her mind. One general stood, pointing at Corin. He poisoned you. Corin stepped forward. I did nothing but speak the truth, and it was enough to shake your world. Guards rushed into the room. Some stood with the queen. Others pointed their weapons. A line had been drawn. The queen raised her voice. Any who oppose peace will be treated as enemies of the crown. A few lords stood silently, then bent the knee. One by one, others followed. The old general growled but saw he was outnumbered. He dropped his weapon. In that moment, the empire began to shift. After the meeting, the queen and Corin stood on the royal balcony. Far below, humans and Varelians were gathering. Corporal Marcus Hale stood still, his back straight, his eyes sharp. He was a human soldier from Earth, now working as a guard at the new Terran Zarnak embassy. It was a strange place, half metal, half crystal, and glowing with lights that changed color every few minutes. The Zarnak were aliens, powerful and strange, and this was the first time their leaders came to Earth for peace talks. Marcus didn't care much about aliens or peace talks. His job was to guard the main door. Don't move. Don't speak. Just stand there and look strong. He was good at that. Then the air changed. The temperature dropped slightly. A low hum filled the room. The doors opened with a soft hiss. She entered. Queen Syrixa of the Zarnak. She was tall, almost 7 feet. Her skin shimmered like silver mixed with dark blue. Her 4 eyes glowed softly. Her hair moved like smoke in water, floating around her head. Behind her, 10 warriors marched silently, all in dark armor. Advisors followed, holding strange devices. Everyone in the room looked at her with fear or respect, except Marcus. He just did his job. He stood straight and stared forward. Then something strange happened. The queen stopped walking. She looked directly at him. Her eyes widened slightly. The lights on her forehead dimmed. Her steps froze, 1 foot still in the air. The entire room became silent. Even the Zarnak warriors looked confused. Queen Syrixa stared at Marcus like she had seen a ghost. Marcus blinked once. Was he doing something wrong? The queen said nothing for a long time. Then she took a deep breath and spoke in her strange, smooth voice. Who is that human? She asked. Everyone turned to Marcus. He didn't move. An Earth diplomat stepped forward quickly. That's Corporal Marcus Hale, Your Majesty, one of our guards. Is there a problem? The queen didn't answer right. Away. Her eyes stayed on Marcus. He looks like someone I knew, she finally said. Someone I lost. The diplomats looked at each other in confusion. The queen turned to her people. The talks will begin later, she said calmly, but the human stays. She looked at Marcus again. Guard, you will come with me. Marcus almost frowned. That wasn't part of his orders. But before he could say anything, the Queen had already walked away, expecting him to follow. The diplomats tried to speak, but the Queen raised one hand. "Do not interfere," she said. "This is personal." Marcus slowly stepped forward, his boots clicking on the floor. He didn't know what was going on. But something told him. This was the beginning of something big, something strange, and very dangerous. Marcus followed the alien Queen through a glowing hallway. The walls were smooth and shiny, and they changed color as they walked. He heard no footsteps from her. She moved like a shadow, calm and silent. Marcus didn't understand why she wanted to see him. He was just a guard, not a diplomat, not a spy, just a soldier with a clean uniform and a serious face. The Queen led him into a private chamber. It was tall and round, with floating lights and strange plants growing from the ceiling. The air smelled sweet like flowers and metal mixed together. "Stand there," Queen Syrixa said, pointing to a spot in the center of the room. Marcus nodded and stood where she told him. He stayed silent, like any good soldier. But inside, he was alert, ready. The Queen slowly walked around him, looking at him from every side. Her face showed no emotion, but her glowing eyes didn't blink. It felt like she was scanning his soul. "You do not know me," she said finally, her voice soft but strong. "No, Your Majesty," Marcus replied. "We've never met." She paused. "You look like him." Marcus didn't answer. He didn't know who him was. "My former mate," she said, almost whispering. "A powerful general, strong, proud. He betrayed me." Marcus's eyebrows moved slightly. That explained her reaction earlier. She thought he looked like her ex-husband. "I'm not him," Marcus said calmly. "I know," she replied. "But you move like him. You stand like him. Even your voice, it sounds the same." Marcus didn't know what to say. Syrixa turned away and looked at a glowing crystal in the corner. "He was not human. He was Zarnak. But you, there is something in you. Something familiar." "Maybe it's just a coincidence," Marcus said. "Maybe," she replied, but her tone said she didn't believe it. Suddenly, the Queen's advisor entered the room without warning. His face was tight with concern. "Your Majesty, the human diplomats are asking for updates. They say the delay will cause problems." The Queen waved her hand. "Tell them peace can wait." The advisor looked at Marcus, then back at the Queen. He clearly didn't like the situation. "Should the human leave?" "No," she said sharply. "He stays." The advisor bowed and left. Syrixa turned to Marcus again. "Until I understand this connection, you will remain close to me." "I'm a guard," Marcus said. "I follow orders." "Good," she replied. "Then this is your new order." Marcus looked around the strange room. This was no longer a simple assignment. Something was pulling him deeper into alien politics, old love stories, and secrets he didn't understand. And he had a feeling things were about to get worse. The next day, Marcus woke up in a soft bed, not a soldier's bunk. The room was strange. Round walls, soft glowing lights, and a strange hum in the air. A robot had brought him food earlier. He had barely touched it. He was still trying to understand what had happened. Why did the alien Queen care so much about him? Why did he look like her ex-husband? It didn't make sense. But orders were orders. And for now, his new job was to stay near Queen Syrixa. He wasn't sure if that was a promotion or a trap. Later that morning, a message came through a wall speaker. "Corporal Marcus Hale, report to the Queen's chamber." He sighed, stood up, and adjusted his uniform. Then he walked through the smooth, glowing halls toward the chamber. When he entered, the Queen was sitting on a floating chair. Her hands rested calmly on her lap, but her eyes were sharper than before. "You slept well?" she asked. "Not really," Marcus answered. "Good. You think better when you're uncomfortable." Marcus frowned. "Are you testing me?" She smiled slightly. Always. Before he could respond, another door opened. A new human guard entered the room. He was taller than Marcus, with cold eyes and a stiff walk. "I've been sent to relieve the corporal," the new guard said. "Orders from Earth Command." Marcus looked at the Queen. She didn't move. Then she stood up slowly and walked toward the new guard. "I did not request a replacement," she said, voice calm but cold. "Earth Command wants someone more experienced with alien diplomacy." She raised her hand. The lights in the room changed color, from soft blue to red. Then everything happened in seconds. A flash of energy burst from her palm. The new guard flew across the room and hit the wall hard. His weapon melted in his hand. He was unconscious. Or worse, Marcus didn't move. Tsirixa turned to him. "Earth Command thinks I am weak. They believe I cannot choose who stands at my side." "Apparently," Marcus said, eyes still on the burned uniform of the other guard. "I chose you, human," she said. "You are not here by accident." "Why me?" "I don't fully know, but I will find out." The Queen waved her hand again. The wall shifted, showing a hidden room behind it, filled with glowing machines and strange symbols. "We will begin tests today," she said. "We will look into your blood, your mind, and your memories." "I'm not a lab rat," Marcus said firmly. She looked him straight in the eyes. "You are something more than a soldier, and if you are not, you will prove it." Marcus stepped forward. "Fine, let's find the truth." And with that, he entered the hidden room, without knowing what he was walking into.